Romo Sasaki went out and threw gas mixed in with some nitro and topped it off with hydrogen-flavored propane. ESPN can't decide if Luka Doncic is happy or hating life in LA. And the Rams trade a big contract. Just not that big contract. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the Faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is March 25th, 2025, Ash Wednesday for Catholics. Let's all begin sacrificing or pretending to sacrifice for Lent. We added a new subscriber to the Angeleno Familia yesterday. Thank you for getting in on the ground floor. We'll do our best to keep you informed. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, again, we switched the format. Instead of me reading the scores, put it on a whiteboard right here. If you want to know the scores, pause the clip, take a peek. Now let's get to the news. I don't know how much English Romo Sasaki actually knows, but he pitched last night as if he was hearing that he might not get a start in the Tokyo series. It's like he knew. Last night, he turns into Johnny Storm of the Fantastic Four. Just turns himself into fire right before our very eyes. Fans 5 Cincinnati players with a fastball that averaged 98 miles an hour. Averaged 98 miles an hour. That's not just gas. That was gas plus kerosene plus wood grain alcohol. Name any pile of combustibles and just fuel it up, mix it in the Stanley Cup that your female co-workers lug around the office. Just don't bring a match. That's what Romo Sasaki did last night. They called it his spring training debut, but that's not precisely true. He made his spring training debut in a so-called B game last week, which means he faced the scrubs in the White Sox system, which maybe had 1 or 2 legit major leaguers, but can you even call anyone on the White Sox a legit major leaguer now? And by the way, Sasaki gave up a home run to those guys. So you could imagine the Dodgers, who actually opened the season in just a couple of weeks, they got a wee bit antsy. Dave Roberts originally told the Scribes that he was considering Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Sasaki to be his starters over in Tokyo. And he was backtracking on that prior to Tuesday's game. Now, we don't know if Roberts reversed course yet again. Yamamoto is still a go. We just don't have a final decision on game 2. But averaging 98 miles an hour. Goodness gracious. An ESPN analyst, meanwhile, told an ESPN podcaster that Luka Doncic is heel-clicking happy being with the Lakers. Yep, that big old poop-eating grin that we see from so many NBA players when they come to LA. Now, here's the problem. This is in conflict with another ESPN windbag who said Doncic has no particular allegiance to LA and that his desire to stay will hinge on whether the Lakers can build a contender around him. Now, the Lakers are on a 7-game winning streak. That might be kind of a nice start. And Dallas's Kyrie Irving's knee exploded into more pieces than the Death Star at the end of Star Wars. So I don't necessarily know how badly he wants to go back to Tejas. Doncic is eligible for a 4-year, $229 million extension with the Lakers this offseason. He could alternately opt out of his current deal, become a free agent following the 2025-26 season. He tells the Associated Press, quote, "It's been great. The atmosphere has been unbelievable, and we just want to give the people what they want, and that's winning the games. That's what we're doing right now," unquote. So, if you're wondering Which unqualified blowhard you should believe, I can't exactly tell you. I know that the second poop thrower, the guy who says Doncic would go, Brian Windbag, never has any sources in his reporting. He never does. It's always his opinion, which is about as valuable as mine or yours. Now, the first guy, Shams Charania, sometimes he has sources in his reporting. So I guess I'm just going to lean with sometimes you back up what you say with facts. How the hell did we reach that stage in American journalism? That's what ESPN devolved into. Hate to be the old head in the group. Hate to be like the guy who was kicked out of the State of the Union address or whatever the hell they called it last night, waving a cane around, looking at a cloud to yell. I remember when ESPN had actual reporters. Anybody remember Peter Gammons? John Clayton. That's just a bunch of randos in a suit talking like they have the inside dope and they never walked 5 feet away from their TV. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. Gabe Vincent, by the way, says he still sees growth in Dalton Knecht, who sank 5 3-pointers in the Lakers' victory against the Clippers. According to the vet, the shooting will get Knecht on the floor as a rookie, but it will be his defense, even if it's not elite, that will keep him on the floor. Quote, "It's been small things for me with Dalton, and he's been improving on it a lot. Whether it's talking on defense or the switches, I think he's improved immensely in the last 5 or 10 games in those. It's great to see him get hot and get out there and get the rhythm shooting from 3 like we know we can." Unquote. The Rams have traded offensive lineman Jonah Jackson to Chicago for a 6th-round pick, which will become official next week. Now, you say, wow, a 6th-round pick, ooh, franchise-altering. But here's the thing. It's not about the pick. It's about finding somebody to take the contract. Cooper Kupp has a massive contract. That's why you haven't seen that guy on the move just yet. The Bears are going to take on the entirety of Jackson's contract, which runs through 2026. And by the way, he's due more than $17 million this year alone. $14 million of that is going to come as cap relief to the Rams, which means possibly, because we don't know what the Matthew Stafford contract is yet, it means that the current cap space is more than $54 million. I hate calling Jackson a bust. I don't think he was trying to miss games. He blasted out multiple body parts. He only played in 4 games last year. But the Rams' offensive line, this is why I don't want to say it's his fault. The Rams' offensive line was just shredded by injuries at the beginning of last year. It wasn't just him. It was Havenstein that was out. Steve Avila was out at the beginning of the year. And then as linemen started to trickle back in from the hospital, Bo Limmer had established himself at center. And that set off a chain reaction where Jackson was on the outside looking in. Now, what I can tell you is that if the Rams cap space is currently $54 million, with Jackson going to Chicago, that savings is going to go a long way to paying off the new deal that will be signed by Matthew Stafford. So yeah, it's a big deal because it helps keep Stafford, and the offensive line from last year remains intact. LAFC's Sergei Palencia was cleared by CONCACAF of using a derogatory term against a Colorado player in an earlier round of Champions League. The Confederation said that inappropriate language was used in the February 25th match, but not the word reported by the Colorado Rapids, which honestly sounds a little bit too sketch. I don't know. I don't know. I will say, despite being a Galaxy fan, I don't want LA teams represented by people who regularly drop racial or homophobic slurs. I don't. So I'm glad, if it is true that Palencia did not drop a homophobic or racial slur, I'm happy about that. I am. I don't want people representing LA who just do that on the regular, right? But this brings up the second thought. What the hell is a derogatory term, right? If I say that you have the worst gas I've ever smelled at a wedding, that's a derogatory term. If you sit there and you go, hey, stupid, why'd you spend money on an AEW cap when WWE is better? That's a derogatory term. If I call you a moron because you wore an orange ascot, that's a derogatory. You know what I'm saying? All we know is Palencia said inappropriate language. Naughty, naughty. Where are my pearls, Scarlett? You tell me. What is the inappropriate language? Because the problem I have with what CONCACAF said is not that they cleared Palencia. No. I'm glad if Palencia didn't say that stuff. I'm glad what we thought. I'm glad he didn't do it, if that's the fact. But what is the inappropriate language? You're using watered down feel-good terms on top of watered down feel-good terms. If you tell me what he actually said, we can now completely close the book and validate. Look, if he uses inappropriate language, it's not really the end of the world if it's not racial or homophobic, right? Let's say Palencia called a Rapids player an a-hole. Now, maybe the player is an a-hole, right? You could sit there and go, you know what? Called him an a-hole. You know? We would all just shrug that off and say, yeah, that's inappropriate, but he's probably an a-hole. That's what I'm getting at. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, are you more confident now in Romo Sasaki throwing 98 miles an hour as the average? And for that matter, what is your opinion? Do you think Luka Doncic is actually happy as hell being here, or secretly wanting to split? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.